Everybody, welcome to another teacher talk sessions. Tonight, before we start our live sessions, I would like to say Happy International Women's Day to all the women from here. And now we can start our sessions tonight. As I said, every Monday we have every week we have a very special guest, just like tonight. And tonight we have 41st teacher talk sessions. Wow, it's for the first time times we are having this live session. It's really great. And tonight we have a very special guest, and she is a Cambridge Assessment, CELTA Tutor, and also teacher trainer. And she is Elena Bolel. And when she is here, we are going to start our conversation. And there she is. Yes, I don't want to waste time, and I would like to start our conversation quickly. Here we go. We are waiting for her to join our live session. Yes, there she is. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Volkan, for having me here. It's a great pleasure and great honor. And I would like to also congratulate all wonderful female teachers out there with the International Women's Day. I think I'm honored to be invited on such a special occasion. So it's a wonderful Monday. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Elena. Also, it's a great honor to have you. And I would like to say also thank you to accept my invitation to teacher talk sessions. And it's wonderful to have you here as a guest, Elena. And also, of course, it's also very special day, a very special guest. Thank you very much. And I know that, and these days we are all very busy, and I'm sure that you are also very busy. I don't want to take your time, and if you are ready, we can start our live session.
All right, let's get going.
Okay, so Elena, I know you, but our participants, maybe they don't know a lot about you. Maybe if it is possible, can you tell us about yourself, please?
Sure. Well, I'm an English teacher in the first place. My first degree is in teaching English as a foreign language. My main is in the same subject. Then I got a scholarship to go and study and work in the UK. That's where I got my master's degree, second master's in educational leadership. And then my roommate, a Turkish girl, happened to be my best friend in the States, and she brought me here. So I signed the contract with the school, signed another one, and it's been 17 years. I never moved anywhere else because I really love Istanbul.
Wow.
And fantastic friends here. So yeah, that's how I came here. But as you said, yeah, I have experience in teaching English. As a teacher, I worked with teachers as a trainer. I worked for different publishing houses, such as Pearson. I was a continuing professional development manager for Cambridge University Press. But then I really decided that I want to move back to classroom, closer to the teachers, and make a difference on a daily basis. That's why I joined ITI as a CELTA tutor, and it's a great honor to now work with my tutors because I'm also a Delta graduate from ITI. So it's like I went back to my alma mater, yeah, so back to the roots, let's say.
It's great. It's wonderful. Thank you very much, Elena. And my next question is about your experiences in teaching. Can you tell us about your experiences in teaching, Elena?
Sure. Well, I think I'm lucky in a way because I taught all levels. I had a year in kindergarten. I taught primary school. In the primary, my favorite age or grade level is grade 4. I think grade 4s are lovely. I taught in middle school. I taught grade 6 and 7 and 8. And then in high school, most of my experiences with high school, because somehow I actually think that teenagers are the best lot to work with because they might be very difficult, but once you get the connection, there's such an amazing, group of youngsters to work with. They're very dedicated once they kind of trust you. I think it's the best age group. Then I also worked with university prep, and I did have brief experience in PLF, private language schools, what are also called dershanes in Turkey.
Yes.
And yeah, I think I've tried everything across the board, and this range of experiences helped me develop myself later as a teacher trainer. I could relate to different teachers who different age groups. I think that was very helpful.
I see. It's a great. We have a wonderful experience.
Speaking of experiences, you know, even within the same age group, you can get a range of experiences depending on what you teach. And because I moved across different institutions in Turkey and abroad, and I worked with different school profiles, I think I also got lucky to have taught academic writing as a subject for 3 years in schools like TED College, for example. I taught general English, business English, English literature, with some scaffolding in terms of language support. And I did some prep for IB program with students who would enter a prep program, IB program. So I did a prep here with.
Hello, Elena.
Are you back? Hey.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm back. So yeah.
But there is a problem, I think, with the connection. We see you very blur.
I've disconnected from my router. Now I'm using my mobile connection. It should get better.
I see. Okay. Okay. Now it's better. Yes, we can continue now. Thank you.
Excellent.
And I think you have finished about the experiences.
That's
Okay,
right.
great. So my next question about your own education, Elena. What was your favorite moment or experience in your own education?
That's a great question. Thank you. I think all teachers, as we grow older, like reminiscing and thinking back about good old days. So when I was a student, I really enjoyed the days back in high school when we had these student management days, what they called in Russia, when high school students actually would teach lessons to other grades. So you would work together with your teachers, prepare lessons, and you would teach to your classmates or to middle schoolers, and everybody took it serious. So we actually taught a new subject, and teachers would support us, but everything was run by the kids. And I remember on one of the days, I was a Russian language and literature teacher, and I think that's the experience that kind of got me thinking that teaching might be an amazing job, because it got me to realize how much goes into planning and how much work is behind this seemingly easy discussion in a literature lesson, for example.
Yeah, I see. It's a great experience about your own teaching. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Elena. And Elena, it's not about, I would like to ask a question about your current job. Can you tell us about your current job and what kind of things you are doing there?
Right. I think many teachers might guess what CELTA Tutor's job is like. So basically, most of my time, 90% of my time is working on what we call input sessions, basically workshops on how to teach language. Yes. Yeah. And then for another half of the day, we're usually busy observing lessons and giving feedback to our course participants. And the thing I really dislike, and it will kind of touch on the things that frustrate me most about teaching, that's marking written work, written assignments. That's the remaining 10% of my job. And that's usually what takes my time in the evenings and weekends.
I know it. It's a very hard job to do. It's very hard and busy. It's very busy.
I think many high school teachers can also, or IB teachers can relate to that, because it also involves a lot of essay marking and paper marking. So yeah, I keep doing the same too.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Elena. Thank you very much. And my other question is this. And what are as a CELTA tutor, actually, what are the characteristics of language teachers for you?
Well, if you think about a good teacher, I always think about being genuine and open. I think about, again, my literature teacher who kind of impressed me greatly when I was in grade 10, I think. We had this discussion about a novel, and it was something about the relationship between the characters. People were in love, and obviously the guy wasn't very handsome. And she said, well, and you know how everybody wants to have a perfect date when they're teenagers, everybody looks up to the magazines. And then the teacher said, guys, you know, it's not about the looks sometimes. Sometimes those idiosyncrasies, things that are really peculiar to you, make the whole difference. And people love you not for the general looks, but something that is you or makes you you. And she said, and she was very open. She said, you know how I fell in love with my husband? And we were like, wow, we really wanted to know. It's personal, right? And she's like, I looked at him when I first met him, and he had bow-legged, you know, legs that are not straight, but a little bit bow-legged. And she said, for me, this is the best shape ever, and I just love him for this. And I remember thinking back at that she was really honest, very transparent, very open, not ashamed of admitting something unusual to us. And I think it takes time to build this trust relationship. And I think that's one of the key things when you work with people, especially with language learners, because they're already unsafe. They're worried about making a mistake, or younger learners would like to trust you because they spend more time with you than with their parents at home. And I think this honesty, being approachable and genuine is the key. If you think about the professional side, not let's say psychological or pedagogical side, it's really important to be prepared. So I think planning is the key, not only as a CELTA teacher I'm saying this, but that's my philosophy in teaching. And I think knowing your students is very, very important, because students, they want to know that you care. And it's not only asking how are you, but spending break time with them. It's again about being approachable. And sometimes, yes, we want to have our coffee and then go and gossip in our staff room, but being available during the breaks to have a normal conversation about what bothers them, what happens in their lives. I think that's one of the key things that makes a good teacher a good teacher.
I see. Yeah, thank you very much for the key points about characteristics of language teachers. They are very important for every teachers. Thank you, Elena. And my other question is about, you know, especially it's really about, you know, and we are in the distance education, as you know that, and we have a really sometimes hard times about the interactions of the students during the online classes. So do you have any suggestions to increase interaction during distance education?
I think it's been discussed globally these days, and I think oftentimes it's not only about what a teacher can or wants to do, but it's about this sort of reinforced policy that comes top down and bottom up. It means that it's very important that the institutional policy supports the teacher. So for example, with us on a CELTA, we do not accept students, language students, for my trainees to kind of learn on, right? Learn with, or deliver lessons with. We do not accept anyone who doesn't switch on the camera, because that's a key. You need to see real faces, because oftentimes you don't even know if the person is there. So I think that's a policy that would be extremely helpful, so that it would help, you know, it would solve 50% of the problem. You don't really want to talk to the camera and to yourself, right, when you teach online.
Exactly.
So showing face policy is important, I think. If we talk about teaching in a school or for a school online now, I think most of the institutions now have installed or have purchased technology or platforms that allow you to put students into groups, what, for example, Zoom calls breakout rooms. And I think using breakout rooms is extremely important, because it allows you to maximize group work and peer engagement and pair work. And that's the only way you can actually get students to speak and practice and do something. But that takes us back to planning, as I said. You need to plan on a lesson where students will have something to be busy with when they are together. And it requires clarity of instruction and the interesting task at hand, so students can actually get to do something. Another thing that we often forget is that even though we're online, still students take lessons in physical settings. So sometimes saying, show me something red or show me something blue will require
Yes.
students to actually move around or show me your favorite toy. I know it will take time. Or you could ask parents to put things in advance of the lesson, put those things that you will ask students to pick
Yeah.
in the same room, so students can quickly grab them and show them to you, for example, or describe them to you. Asking students to move, it's also possible. For example, in an activity like true false, you could ask students to clap when it's true and stand up, sit down when it's
Yeah,
false.
exactly.
So you don't have to move. So things like that, I think, interjecting kinesthetic activities like clap, point, show, stand up, yeah, they kind of
Exactly.
vary dynamics.
So wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. Also, as the students also, they need to, the interaction with the teachers, and we also need interactions, and sitting in front of the screen an hour is really, the hard work for both sides. I mean,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you very much, Elena. And my next, can I go? Next question?
Yeah, sure. As long as we
Okay.
do in the same order, because I have some interesting notes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my next question is this. What do you find most frustrating and rewarding about teaching as a CELTA tutor?
I don't think it's only about being a CELTA tutor. In CELTA,
It's
okay,
something.
we'll come back to that. As a teacher, and I mentioned that, regardless of whether I teach students in a school, university, or teachers on a CELTA course, the most frustrating thing for me is marking papers.
Yeah, for everybody, I think it's the same.
And well, some people can do it better than others. I mean, if you imagine I mean, I cannot imagine the life of a Delta tutor because there's just so much reading there. That's why I'm not so keen on becoming a Delta tutor. Not yet. Maybe when I grow older, because you can tell that I'm all about action. I'm really sort of a people's person. I like being in front of people, interacting. I don't like sitting at home marking papers alone. So that's something that kind of frustrates me. What I find the most amazing and rewarding about teaching is building relationship. Because in other jobs, for example, you have a manager, and it's really important who you work with and how, I mean, people's factor is very important in the offices. It's still important in schools because after the lessons we go back to the staff room. However, still 90% of your time or 95% of your time you spend in the classroom, and you're the goddess or the god or the king or the queen of your own environment, and you can create any kind of magic kingdom you like, and it can be as positive as you like, and you can be very happy with your students. So I think this is an amazing thing that we teachers have, or an opportunity for us. And I think another thing which I experience more with my CELTA trainees, because it's such a compact course, it's seeing the results of what you're doing or what you're giving to the learners within a short period of time. Even a year in a high school, or I mean in a school, makes a difference. Whereas when you work on a NASA project, it can take you up to 40 years to see your device go into space, right? So I think we're lucky in this way. And the fact that we really make a difference on a daily basis, it's a great feeling, because, you know, probably as a teacher, you might have had this experience as well. When your students graduate and then 5 years later you receive an email from the States, this is a true story, it happened to me. And this is a student who hated my academic writing classes because it's not only the writing that I taught them, but punctuality. They had to come to my lessons on time, or they lost points. They what they call sözlü not in Turkey, right? Oral notes, the grades. So I would deduct points, and they really disliked it first. Then they got used to my teaching style, and then 3-4 years later, I received this message. I think it wasn't an email; it was on Facebook, and the guy said, "Well, you know what, Miss Elena, thank you so very much for those academic writing lessons, because now I understood what you were actually trying to teach us. Because now I know how valuable it is to be punctual, to do things on time.
Definitely.
And this academic writing actually got me into a better college. So thank you very much. I was like, wow, and it's 4 years later. And I think the karma, the positive karma that was returned to us, it's still faster compared to many other jobs. So I think that's a great feeling.
It's wonderful, and it's a nice story about you also about that one. It's a great one, and I know really about the the CELTA tutor's job, about how frustrating was the reading the papers, because when I was taking my CELTA course, and I was realizing that things, how they work on about our papers, it was really
Yeah.
hard, and it takes really lots of time. And they got stressed about it. I know it.
It's like you graduate in a month. We never graduate. We keep doing this.
You're right. Thank you very much, Elena. And my other question is this: are there any differences between evaluation and assessment in language teaching? This is very important, I think.
It is a good question, and there is a big difference, as a matter of fact. Many people use assessment and evaluation interchangeably because it kind of focuses on what you can or cannot do, but in different ways. Assessment comes from an old, if I'm not mistaken, I need to double check in Google, because don't take my word for that, but I remember hearing that, learning about this, that assessment means from old either Greek or Latin, sitting next to someone to assess, right? So assessment, it's being next to somebody and holding his or her hand. So as a result, it's something that is ongoing. We focus on the process, not on the product, yeah? And it's formative.
Okay.
If we talk about terminology, it's formative. The reflection part is very important. So you look back at how much you've done, so you can adjust and see what else you need to do in the future based on your current language ability. When you assess people, you usually take into consideration their performance and experiences rather than grades and numbers. And in assessment, peer assessment is important. Getting feedback from not only teacher but friends in the classroom is also part of the assessment. And we look into feedback here, constructive, of course, different comments, dialogues, to talk about how much you've learned or what you've done and why. So if you think in terms of difficult teacher language, that's something that is, I would say, criterion referenced. It means that you check how much you've done, yeah, as a process against certain rubric or against certain criteria. So you don't compare yourself to others, but instead you compare yourself to yourself yesterday. And that gives you the sense of security. So if you think about those schools that adopt portfolio assessment, that's exactly why. So the students can show how much they can do in many different creative ways without feeling being judged or labeled. Whereas evaluation, it's summative. This is a snapshot of your abilities. So basically, you're judged on the quality at a specific point of time. So it's kind of it's like TOEFL test, if you put it in very simple language. Yeah, you either can or cannot do it, and the product is important, not how you got to that. Yeah, and then there are certain objectives which need to be achieved because you care about the product. So when we talk about evaluation, we looked at grades, percentages, level A2, B2, C1, yeah, or quality of something that is produced. And then we can call it norm referenced, which means it's comparative, and you kind of look at the distinction between better and worse. And in other words, it means that you compare yourself not to your own progress, but to other students in class. Oh, he's got 100 and then I'm 85. I mean, it's necessary. After all, we need to take a snapshot of our language level. But if we only focus on evaluation, it will have a negative backwash on learning because students will only care about what's on the test and will not care about all this creative thinking and interesting projects that show what you can do as an individual.
I see. Thank you very much, Elena, to make it really clear about the evaluation and the assessment. So now we know what is the difference between that one. Thank you very much. There's a
You're welcome.
question,
Uh-huh.
Elena.
Yeah.
Let me look at here. It's Azra asks, Dear Elena, how is
Mm-hmm.
the best way to make my writing activities most objective in adult online classes, such as brainstorming and concept map activities? Thank you very much in advance.
Excellent question. Thank you. I think with writing and speaking tasks, the only way to make them objectives is to design rubrics. And a rubric it sounds like it's a lot of work, but usually when I work on writing and I want to make it objective, I start with short rubrics. For example, students finished a paragraph, let's say, and the rubric says, I used commas and punctuation correctly. All commas and full stops are in place, for example. And I used third person singular. He, she plus s. Yes, she speaks, and put some example sentence. She speaks, he speaks correctly. So students look at each other's work first, they swap, and only do these two things. So my rubric focuses on these two. And as I continue teaching writing, the rubric gets complicated. So with the next writing task, they will look at these two criteria. Plus, I will say, I like the ideas because the content was exactly about the topic. It was relevant and creative. So students will evaluate each other like this. And then as you go on, you will actually put together a solid rubric. So by the end of the course, or a month, it depends on how long your course is, students will be able to actually look at the very complex rubric and look at each other's writing. And because they learn to look at each other's writing, they will develop a critical eye on what they how they should look at their own. Because it's a typical experience, I think, globally, that whenever you ask students to check their own writing, you say, so how is it? Oh, there's no problem, teacher. They call it teachers in Turkey. Teacher, it's good. Because they don't know what to look for. It's very general. So is there a problem? I mean, what kind of mistake I should look for? So those rubrics, they kind of help them narrow their focus down and slowly train them to spot more and more problems. And I think that's something that works very well for me, at least.
I see. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Elena. I think that's the very, the useful answer and useful response for that question. Thank you. I think Azra is fine about the answer. Thank you. And so, well, what can I say? Here, there is another question, but I will ask it later. It's about do you show students the rubric before they begin writing or speaking? It's related with it. Yes, we can do it.
It's very important to show the rubric to the students before they start writing, so they know what you're looking for and they know what they need to gear their writing towards. What the standard is. And if you use the rubric in English, which ideally you would, it's important that it's in very simple language so they can actually understand it. So yes, I always show it beforehand, or if I have time, depends on who I work with and the level of the students, I even sometimes design it together with the learners, with more advanced learners.
Okay,
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, she says thank you to you, Elena. Thank you very much. My next question is, it's actually, these two terms are very popular, especially these days. CBL and TBL, which is TBL's content-based learning, language teaching. Another one is TBL. So task-based language learning or teaching. So what is difference between content-based and task-based language teaching?
Depending on the task you design, they can actually overlap in some way, in some ways. But in a nutshell, task-based teaching and learning is based on a task, right? So students need to perform in an authentic, real-life situation to solve a problem. So they use language to achieve a non-linguistic outcome. So this non-linguistic outcome makes this task authentic for them, right? So, and usually such tasks require critical thinking, all right? They also usually those tasks are information gap tasks. It could be opinion-based tasks, so when they need to prove a point and justify it, or it's a kind of reasoning task. Why do you think it's right or wrong? So it's kind of opinion, or you solve a problem by, for example, if you design a role play and ask students questions like, okay, so here is the situation. Let's say in Istanbul, Kurbalıdere River next to Fenerbahce Stadium is super polluted. You're a mayor. You want this, but you don't have money, right? You are a citizen who lives nearby, and you cannot open the window and enjoy the view on the on the sea, because when you open the window it stinks. So, and now solve the problem, discuss, and they get to the table. So there's a real task. You design the task in such a way that they would have to use the language, target language, but they try to achieve a non-linguistic outcome. It's a fantastic approach because students get motivated, they get engaged, they really enjoy this, but it requires quite a lot of planning on the teacher side in advance. On the bright side, you don't need to use it every day. You can have a task a week, or one task, like a solid task to spend 2 lessons on once a month. It depends on the school you work for, on your syllabus, right, on what you can and cannot do, because we all have certain institutional restrictions or prescriptions, let's say, So if you design several tasks like that in August, based on the topics and themes you have in your course book, you can spice up your teaching every once in a while, and students will feel like, oh, wow, we're doing something real. So that's task-based. If we talk about content-based teaching, there is more focus on the subject, or on the subject matter. That means, again, you give students freedom to choose from a range of topics or subjects, and then they should like them. It should be their own choice, and they learn about the subject. It could be some research. They could, again, find out something interesting about a rock band that they like, But by finding out more about the topic or the content, they actually learn language or get exposed to authentic use of present perfect, or past simple if it's a narration, if it's a narrative, and it tells a story of Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, for example, So students are all interested, but they got to use past simple and past perfect in this case, for example, And if you think about content-based teaching, it's more of an end product, what you can or cannot do with the language, or what you've learned about the topic, do you understand it or not? And another buzzword these days is CLIL, content and language integrated learning.
Yes.
I think the connection failed.
I think.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, but you look a little bit blur again.
And you look the same blurry to me, but I look okay in my camera.
Okay, so let me try this one. Just a moment. I'll do some. Now, can you hear me?
It's all good. Yep, it's all good. All right. Going back to CLIL to sum up. Miguel, is the connection better now?
Is it better now?
Let's see. Let's
How
give
about
it a
now?
I can hear you very well and see as well. A bit blurred, but you can hear us all right, yeah? So
Both look the same.
the same good or the same bad?
Is it good or bad? I think it's okay.
Yeah. All right. So I think CLIL is something that takes on board a lot of content-based teaching and is already adapted by many publishers into something English language teachers can pick from.
Okay. It's a great the explanations about the content base and the task base, and you made it really clear for us. Thank you very much about these terms. Is that all about them? I think you're finished. Can I move?
Let's move on.
Okay.
You've got so many other questions.
I have nice. My other question, Elena. It's sometimes it's very discussable, the people and the teachers discuss about using the mother tongue in our classes, should we use or shouldn't we use it? So is it appropriate for an English teacher to translate new words into the student's mother tongue? If so, how much and how many words?
Very interesting question for discussion. Well, just to kind of reiterate, I do not represent any publisher in here. I do not represent my current
Yes,
employer, ITA. So this is my personal
of
teacher's
course.
professional opinion. Okay?
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
Because
You are here. All your all of them, is your ideas. It's whatever you
yes,
think. It's not about
personally, I believe that translation can work, but it depends on the time, the level, and reason. I would never ever translate when I teach general English to even beginners. And I can tell with confidence that it is possible to teach beginners without using L1. Because, I mean, how could I teach Turkish students when I arrived here, because I spoke no Turkish. So when we speak only English with them, it creates this effect of immersion. I mean, they have to respond, but it's up to you how you grade your language, how you use flashcards, so it's possible. If you start translating, they will get lazy very quickly, and there is no going backwards. For 5 years, I taught in the same school, and I had been pretending until the graduation day that I spoke no Turkish, so I understood perfectly fine. Okay, and then on the day of graduation, after 5 years, my high schoolers all of a sudden found out that my Turkish was rather fluent. They were so like, oh my God, Miss Elena, now I will be thinking whether I said something evil or mean, or maybe I cursed in a lesson and you understood. So it was a funny moment, yeah, but the key thing is that it's possible not to translate. Now, when translation is appropriate, in my opinion, I think that it's okay to translate when you work with extremely advanced learners. For example, C1, B2, and for example, if you work with the students who would continue into academia, or they already read some advanced research papers, and sometimes you would want them to explore how languages work, because they will notice the difference when you ask them to translate a paragraph. They will actually think about grammar, pick vocabulary, so it kind of gets them to really use the language in a way that gets them to see the differences in structures of the language. So with very advanced students, I would use it from time to time as an additional practice activity, but I would not be translating in a lesson.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much
You're
about
welcome.
this one, the using the mother tongue in our classes. Thank you. And my other question is about curiosity. It's a very important term also, curiosity. So what is the role of curiosity in students learning, and how to activate it?
Well, I think curiosity, they say kill the cat, but never kill the student.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
I think that curiosity is actually the key to learning. First of all, when we talked about the teacher role, not the teacher's role, but we talked about the good teacher, or the characteristics of the good teacher. We said that it's important to be friendly, approachable, genuinely interested in your learners, because people, not only younger learners, but people don't learn from those they don't like. Okay, and I don't mean that you need to flirt with your students or be fake. You need to be genuinely transparent, so they know that you care. Right? The same goes for curiosity in a lesson. If you're not interested, you won't learn. You can be as entertaining as you like, but if you didn't pick the right subject for the learners, all this sugarcoating in terms of you being fun, will not help. So I think if we talk about sort of meta language in linguistic terms, I think that listening is very important. And as a CELTA graduate, you know that. Setting the context is the key. I'll give you an example of what I did as a teacher
of course.
Back in 2009, I think. You guys know that every book has this boring chapter on environment, right? And I do feel sympathy for for these issues, and I do try to do things that I can. I don't throw chewing gums on the floor. I pick up litter. If I see something on the floor, I would kind of pick it up and throw it to trash bin. But there is this much I can do. If you ask me about what we can do to save polar bears, I'll be like, I've never seen a polar bear. Okay, it's way too far. So I care about my immediate environment, and that's all right, because there are people who can travel there. They are part of Greenpeace. They work on global level. I work on local level. So that's how students' brain works as well, yeah, about everything. When you give them an article about saving polar bears, they'll be like, Jesus, we don't even have proper winter in Istanbul. What are we talking about, right? So
Yes.
I remember I started a unit by on environment by showing a Turkish newspaper article. I kind of cut it out, put it on the projector, put it on a board about the same Kurbalidere river in Moda, in Kadıköy, right?
Yeah.
And because I worked on the Asian side at that time, most of my students knew about the problem. Just some 7 years ago, it was unbearably stinky. You would not be able to take a walk there, right? And because I pretended that I spoke no Turkish, I was like, guys, I saw this on the news. I lived in Moda in those days. I said, what is it about? And all of a sudden, all of those cool teenagers, guys who never spoke English, they were so cool, they didn't want to make a mistake in front of their girlfriends sitting right there. They were trying to explain me in English what was actually the article about. I was like, oh, really? Wow. And they would tell me, yeah, we went there last weekend to skate or play the guitar. It was embarrassing. So now let's see what else happens around, globally. And they would come up with ideas. And then once they really personalized it at the beginning of the lesson, any article about polar bears, yeah, or penguins or melting icebergs actually worked well with them. Yeah, so I think that's the key for curiosity. Another thing, so we said making it relevant, making it personal, local. If I were to teach in Mersin, I would look for something in the news or look at the local issue. Yeah, maybe there is some trash that piled up on a particular street that students would know about. Yeah. Age appropriacy is important. And I also think that, over time, as we get more experienced and we have all those games and tricks and articles that work so well and we develop nice activities for them, we keep recycling them and reusing them. And I think updating and revising our materials, plans, and games is something that is very important. First of all, it keeps us fresh, and interested how it's going to work out this time. It's kind of personal challenge. And with the materials, I mean, think about it. If you now look at the photo of iPhone 8, how exciting would that be? I mean, because things get outdated so quickly, even in terms of images. That's why revising materials sometimes helps. And I guess these are the key things from my end.
So wonderful. Thank you very much for this brilliant explanation about the curiosity, Elena. It's wonderful. Especially the examples that you have given us. They're all great.
They're real. I mean, I know how students react in your work.
Yeah, especially it's really great that you are using the real examples. It's great. And my other question is it's about the role of age in language teaching. So what is the role of age in second or foreign language learning?
Okay. I'm not a specialist in this area because there's a lot of research and data that does not to be reinvented. But from what I looked into when I was interested in this subject, from what I remember, perhaps there is new research that came out, but I really do believe as well, based on my experience, that young learners are absolutely wonderful in observing things and picking up fantastic pronunciation. So I think it's important that they have a really good model, because once pronunciation is acquired, it cannot be changed, or you can never achieve a native fluency, not even native, like you can never achieve native fluency, native pronunciation, if you had not been taught by a native speaker in that age. Okay, and as a non-native speaker, I'm not upset about that. It's a fact. That's how we pick mother tongues. Yeah. However, when young learners grow to their teenagerhood, when they become teenagers, they actually reach what they call the optimal age for learning languages, because they now have developed an ability to talk about abstract concepts, think about their learning, which is metacognition, take ownership of the learning, and still they have very flexible, very fresh mind, so they're not judgmental, they're not afraid of making, they are afraid of making mistakes, but nothing like adults who are 35, for example, and who have been through a very rigid educational system. And then adults are really good at picking things quickly, because they don't have discipline issues or classroom management issues. They know what they want. They know they're highly motivated. They come to classroom to learn. But pronunciation cannot be taught easily. Yeah, it's going to be still
Yes.
most likely a rather heavy accent. But on the bright side, they adults, we have very well developed metacognition skills. So we really can think about why certain patterns emerge in a language. We can compare it to our own language or notice the differences. So that helps us to speed up in learning. But teenagers can do both. Maybe that's why I was so amazed and sort of charmed by this age group, and I really liked working with them because they can kind of combine the good features of both age groups and blend in one. Yeah, but that's what I know about differences, but I'm no specialist in this area.
Yeah, thank you very much for your ideas about this one, for suggestions about it. Thank you. And Elena, my my next question is about your golden rule. What is your golden rule in the classroom?
And this is the only question I couldn't come up with the answer to. I was really thinking about my golden rule, and I really don't have one. I think it's just, I don't know. I mean, no, there is one. Okay. There is one thing I always tell other teachers, and I feel like teachers are in a way actors. I think my golden rule is that when you step into the classroom, no matter what happens with in your private life, with your husband, with your girlfriends, or with your boyfriend, with your partners, you need to put it aside because, as I said, students read you immediately. They don't like learning from someone they don't like, and you're the one to project this positive vibe. So I think this ability to switch and leave all the problems aside and switch on in a real, genuine, positive way for the students, that's my golden rule. I mean, that's something you need to carry into every classroom and make sure that you project this positive energy so that students join in.
I see. Thank you very much. It's the great one. To put aside all your problems behind the door.
Razi, thank you very much for commenting, by the way. I keep looking at what comes.
Creating dynamic classroom settings. Also a great one. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Razi. All right. My other question is this, Elena. What makes teaching skills fun?
I have some CELTA graduates here from my groups. They can probably tell you.
Why not?
Yeah, what I think is important, is kind of go to other subjects, kind of takes us back, but it's about finding an interesting text to use to explore skills and work on them. It's designing authentic tasks. It takes us back to this task-based approach. So students, when they practice something, they feel like it's meaningful. It's fun because I'm trying to achieve a non-linguistic outcome for this authentic task. And I think having or getting students to produce something for the real audience. It could be a parents committee. It could be tourists in Istanbul. It could be something you could put on a school blog, if you discuss it with school administration. So making sure that there's authentic audience will make a difference. Then it kind of goes back to the task-based approach. When students feel like, oh my God, someone else will read it, and they'll be a lot more accurate and more passionate about producing something of good quality, and putting their hearts into this. And something that takes us back in a way to assessment and evaluation. In this case, it's assessment. I think it's important when you practice skills, and it's important with everything we do, to give students a baseline. So the minimum criteria that they need to complete, or set of objectives to sort of pass, to get this pass grade. And anything else on top of that should be not evaluated, but assessed. So they get your feedback, constructive comments, discussion, praise, lots of things. So they would like to show what else they can do, no matter what the English is. So they know that I've achieved the linguistic minimum and I'm safe. And this is also something that that helps you create this safe environment for the learners to make mistakes, because they know that they won't be judged or evaluated based on that, but instead they will get feedback on how to make it better. But all the good comments will come from the teacher as well, because they've done this in many different creative ways. So constructive feedback also helps with the skills.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much, Elena, about this one. And there is someone says here, I would like to read it. And Sue says, that's my rule too. As I step in class, I forget everything, and as I step out the class, I remember my problems again.
Right.
Yeah,
And
okay,
then you
that's
told them.
okay. So if you don't remember your problems, you should always stay in the class then. Yeah,
Exactly. That's a safe place for us. Makes me happy.
yeah, it's
It's,
great.
thank you for
Okay,
sharing too.
yeah, thank you very much. And Elena, my next question is about professional development. So, what are the main ways you pursue professional development, and how is that going for you? Can you explain with examples if it's
Yes,
possible?
with examples possible. um,
Thank you.
um, Everything I've achieved so far is because I have this approach to my own unique, I guess, or maybe not unique, but my approach to professional development, which translates into signing up for things which I'll have to do. It's similar approach to what we do when we want to lose weight. If we try to do it at home, nothing happens. In 2 weeks, we give up. If we pay for the gym, we actually go to the gym, right? So when I
Yes.
want to develop myself professionally, I submit proposal
Mm-hmm.
as a speaker at the conference. I submit presenters proposal even if I don't have a session on that. I've never presented on this topic. So now the clock is ticking and I have to research, I have to put together a session, make sure it's dynamic and creative and interesting for the teachers. So that's how I motivate myself to actually participate in my own
Yes.
professional development. So it's signing up for the conferences, not as a participant, but as a presenter myself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I also noticed about myself, I call it a job challenge. I challenge myself on the
I
job.
see.
I know that
Mm-hmm.
very often it's not considered a good thing when people move from one school or from one job to another. But if I know it's for a good reason and I go for a better job, for a more interesting opportunity that challenges me professionally because, oh my God, it's an IB school, it's horrible. I'm going to spend months and months marking papers and I don't know the rubrics, but I will learn as a result. I'll go for that. So I guess I was always doing things I was scared of the most professionally.
Uh-huh.
And I learned by doing. So because that's how we learn the best.
I see. Thank you very much, Elena, for your experience. You share your experience with us here.
Mhm.
And my other question is this. What advice would you give to a new teacher who asks you, what is the best way for me to keep growing as a teacher, Elena?
Do what I did. Sign up when you cannot go back. Start
Okay.
try to present, design your workshop and invite your colleagues and announce it. Because once you've announced, you cannot take it back. Because, you know, like many teachers can relate to that, those who are non-native speakers, in many languages, present perfect or past perfect does not
Uh-huh.
exist, right? So, and I
Yeah.
remember as a young teacher, I finally figured out how to use it properly when I started teaching past perfect tense. So
I
I think
see.
the same goes for the professional development opportunities. Once you sign up for something and start giving workshops to your colleagues or speak at the conferences, you will end up learning more by doing. So it's for me, it's a similar kind of pattern.
I see. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
And only two more questions left before
Let's
we
do it.
finish our sessions. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the first one, what a piece of advice would you like to give to the teachers who feel tired and burn out because of distance education?
I know that we're going through extremely challenging times because screen time wears you out. And when I do online CELTA, which I happen to do this for these 2 weeks, you got to really focus on so much, like watching the students, observing what they do, how they respond, listening to the sound, seeing what's on the whiteboard. Yeah, so there's just so much for our brain to multitask with that it's extremely tiring. We get exhausted by the end of the day. It's not comparable with teaching face to face. And even though some people or parents may think that, oh, what a nice job, teachers don't even come to school and they work from home in their PGs. I'd rather
Yes.
commute, and I figured that commuting in Istanbul, going to the other side for a month to teach a face-to-face center. We just finished it on Friday. We had an amazing
Uh,
experience with eight
Congratulations. Great.
candidates. Was not as tiring as staying at home teaching online. Though, of course, it has advantages. I can wake up later. I mean, I really don't need to think about my lunch. It's in my fridge. It's nice. But because we get tired, I figured that there are two things that help me. I never work anywhere else except my office, my study. It's a guest room and a library for me. So if you're lucky to have a separate room to work in, don't break this rule. Don't get your laptop on your lap, literally just to chill in the living room and finish a couple of things on TV as you're planning, because then your brain perceives the whole house as work environment, so you don't really switch. So that's one thing I kind of keep as a rule. And the second thing is spending time outdoors, even if it's 15 minutes. When I work for a period of time, like this week and next week from home, I make it a rule that the moment my lessons are over, I get outside just for a 20-minute walk, because it does make you feel as if you haven't spent the whole day, in front of the screen. So these two things really keep me sane.
I see. Thank you very much for the advice, Elena. And my last and I think the hardest one, really.
$1 million question.
Yeah. Okay. And here is it. What is your motto?
I think a lot of things that happen in real life applicable to classroom, because it's about people, about relationship, about attitude. That's why my motto does not sound like something related to linguistics or ELT, but I think it's very, very transferable. So I usually take this quote as my motto. If you don't like something, change it. If you cannot change it, change your attitude to it.
Wow.
I think it works when it comes to relationship with people. If you're unhappy with a particular job, institution, if you're not happy with friends, or if you don't like the house, you even have a fantastic saying, proverb in Turkish, if you don't like your neighbors, start looking for a new flat. Do something about it. So I guess that's my motto.
It's a great one. It's very useful motto. Yeah, it's a great one. Thank you, Elena. And what is Sue says, today I did it and went walking after my class. Yeah.
Excellent. Did it make a difference? I bet it did.
Probably did. Okay. Yeah. And Elena, would you like to add something, or would you like to say something before we finish our Teacher Talks Instagram sessions?
I think one thing I would like to say is that oftentimes, we get caught in our daily routine. We get caught with teaching young learners, so it doesn't matter. We keep working and thinking that, well, we're doing regular things. But as I wrote in my message to the teachers today, to the female teachers, but I think it's true for all of us, when I congratulated them with the International Women's Day, it's really important to remember that we teachers have this superpower nobody else has. We really change people's lives. We help them shape their future by teaching them English or helping them to learn English. We help them achieve their most audacious goals. And I think it's important to remember that on daily basis we make a difference. We might not see it right away, but I think sometimes coming home and kind of giving ourselves a good rub or pat on the shoulder is a must. So let's finish our session with this, yeah? Let's put our right hand on our left shoulder and say, I've just done a fantastic job this Monday.
Yeah, I did a great job this Monday. Yeah. Okay. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Elena. And I would like to say one more time, thank you to accept my invitation and become our guest tonight in Teacher Talks sessions. And it was a great honor. It was a great honor to have you here. And thank you very much for your ideas, for your suggestions, and your time that you spent with us. And I learned a lot from you tonight, and I'm sure that our listeners, and they have also learned something from you, which is really great for us, because even they learned one word from you tonight, it's perfect, I think. And also, but I'm sure that they learned more than a word tonight. And also, I would like to say thank you very much to our guests, to our listeners, and who listen us every week here and join us and listen and participated. Thank you very much. And that's all for tonight. And we were with Elena Bolel tonight, and that was really great. And we will see each other next Monday with a different education educator here. And I would like to say good morning wherever you are, good afternoon, good evening, and that's all for tonight. And peace, everybody. Good night, Elena.
Thank you,
Bye
Volkan.
bye. Take care.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.